All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm just going to quickly give you a brief overview of Google Voice for Google Workspace. Sorry, just to give you an overview of how Google Voice can help admins, as well as how the end user experience looks like on Google Voice. Firstly, just to give you an idea what Google Voice is and where we're coming from. The whole principle behind Google Voice is to provide easy, immediate, productive conversations with anyone. So with Google Workspace, you have the tools like Google Meet, Google Chat to be able to communicate internally and externally. But often people forget about phone calls. When it's not possible to do a Google Meet or it's not possible to chat to someone externally, people always fall back to a telephone call. And by adding Google Voice to the Google Workspace portfolio, we now provide a full unified communication stack. So Google Voice essentially, it's a smart, simple, and scalable phone system designed purely for Google Workspace users and admins. And the whole concept is to make your work calls less work. So as I said, we'll have a look at the admin experience first. And I guess the main reason why companies and schools adopt Google Voice and the feedback that we've got from our existing customers is due to the simplicity of how Google Voice is administered. Google Voice is available in the admin console, which means you don't have to worry about having a separate tool or separate credentials. Adding a Google Voice phone number to one of your existing users it takes about five clicks of the mouse button. And when you onboard new users in Google Workspace, you assign someone a Gmail address, then you can, with a few extra clicks, you can assign them a phone number. And that whole process simplifies telephony a great deal compared to existing legacy phone systems. And you can do this from anywhere and any device, which admins really love compared to, as I said, compared to the legacy world. Another really important feature when migrating your phone system is being able to bring your phone number across. A lot of businesses and schools rely on their phone number as their primary identity. So we support number porting, and we've embedded the number porting process into the admin console, which means you can simply fill out a port request in the admin console and Google will take care of the port on your behalf. That saves you a lot of time and a lot of money because nobody likes spending hours on the phone to a telco operator explaining what numbers you want to port across. We've also added some really unique business functionality to Google Voice. So things like auto attendant, where you can have a virtual receptionist. So instead of having someone manually answer your phone calls and transferring them to different people in the organization or different groups in the organization, Google can do that for you. You can create an auto attendant in multiple languages and create a multi-level menu structure where callers can press buttons on their keypad to transfer the call to the desired location. We've also added regroup functionality, and this allows you to answer calls and make calls as a team. So a great use case for this is if you have a support team or a support group and people call a single number, you can have up to 25 people in that group ring simultaneously, or you can have them search via round robin pattern until somebody answers the call. And this really improves your ability to make sure all your calls are answered. And this is really sort of going into sort of very basic call center functionality. It's not designed to be a full call center, but it gives you that call distribution ability to, as I said, answer as a team. We also want to support desk phones. Google Voice is designed to be a flexible mobile solution that can be used on desktop and mobile, but we know there's a lot of use cases, especially in schools, where a desk phone is required. So we partner with Poly, and we've certified these 4 desk phones for zero-touch provisioning. And what that means is admins can simply add these phones by the admin console. When the users get the phone, they just plug it into the network. The phone automatically downloads configuration without any manual configuration required by the end user. And lastly, from an admin perspective, Google Voice is a Google Workspace core service. So that's really important because it means it inherits all the cloud security certifications, the cloud standards, compliance standards, and all the great things that Google Cloud provides from a security standpoint, which makes Google Voice probably one of the most secure and reliable cloud-based telephone systems in the market. We also support emergency dialing, and we have full telecom compliance in all the countries we operate. As you'd expect, all the data is encrypted at rest and in transit, and we also support Google Vault for data retention purposes. And support becomes really simple because you don't have to worry about a secondary support contract. Google Voice has the same SLA as Google Workspace, which means you contact support and manage support in exactly the same manner as you do with Google Workspace. All right, cool. So that's from the admin perspective. And again, we'll switch over to the end user perspective. And the feedback from most of our users that adopted this solution so far is what they love about it from an end user perspective is the simplicity again. The fact that the Google Voice apps have a very familiar look and feel because they're Google Workspace apps. It means adoption is really quick. People can learn how to use the apps in very little time compared to a third-party solution where they may have to spend hours reading through manuals or looking at documentation to how to make a phone call. Google Voice is available in your browser. You don't need a third-party app or anything like that. And on the mobile phone, you can download the iOS or Android apps very easily. And we've also made it a lot simpler to make and receive phone calls. As you saw last year, Google Workspace announced Gmail is your new home for work. And Google Voice on desktop now lives in Gmail as well. So if you're in Gmail, you can receive your calls directly in Gmail. If you want to make a phone call, you can do it directly in Gmail as well without having to switch apps. And that greatly increases productivity. Another feature, greatly loved by Google Voice users, especially in the education sector, is the ability to see your own voicemail. Traditionally, if I received a voicemail, I'd have to call up a voicemail number, enter my PIN number, and navigate through a menu before I had the chance to listen to my voicemails. Google Voice, we transcribe all the voicemails to text and display that as text in your Google Voice app, or we can have that sent to your Gmail directly as well. And that really avoids unwanted distractions during the day, especially when you're teaching. Another really great feature that teachers love about Google Voice, but not just teachers, but businesses, is the ability to synchronize Google Voice with your Google Calendar working hours and out of office hours. This is really great for digital well-being. It means that, if I set my working hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., if anybody tries to call me at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. when I'm supposed to be at home, which I'm at home anyway, the call goes straight to voicemail. And that lets you separate your work life from your personal life in a more controlled manner. And teachers can do the same thing. Like, for example, they can set it up so, if they're in the classroom teaching, they're not disturbed based on out of office. Another really unique thing that Google Voice does is spam call detection. We're starting to see a lot more cases of where people are scamming and performing phishing calls via phones. And Google's able to detect known spam numbers and filter these so they're not basically reached the end caller. And this really helps avoid cases where people scam information or phish information from a company. So it protects your users, but also protects your company. Just going to give a quick overview of the pricing of Google Voice. So Google Voice is available as an add-on to Google Workspace and Google Workspace for Education. And we have 3 simple packages. So there's Google Voice Starter, which is really for basic functionality for up to 10 users. And then if you want sort of business functionality, you have to look at Standard or Premier. The main difference between Standard and Premier is Premier allows you to have international offices. What that means is if I have a multinational office where I have users in the UK, Spain, Portugal, France, and I want to have phone numbers for those users, then I need to go Premier. If all my users are in the UK, then Standard is sufficient. And with every Google Voice license, you get a Google Voice phone number, unlimited incoming calls, unlimited calls between Google Voice numbers. And in terms of external calls are charged based on our Google Voice rate card. In the UK, it's typically 1 pence per minute. We feel that gives a lot more flexibility than having a bundle package, because with the bundle package, you always pay for the price of the bundle, regardless of how many calls you make. With our model, you pay for exactly what you use, so you have more granularity of your costs. We also have special EDU pricing, and you can contact Lever Consultancy for that, and they'll be able to contact and give you the pricing for EDU customers. So that's it. That was my quick intro into Google Voice. Hopefully that was enlightening. If you'd like to learn more, you can head over to our website, or obviously contact Lever Consultancy, and the guys will be able to put you in touch with, with a trial for Google Voice. We recommend you, If you want to get started, we can set you up with a trial. And then obviously for education customers, we have the special EDU pricing that a lot of consultants can provide.